For every African citizen, Africa Day is a powerful reminder of how our legacy, heritage, and culture is being globally seen and represented. Today, we're joined by Monalisa Molefe, a cultural strategist and an art advisor who's currently shaping how luxury and African contemporary art is being seen throughout the world. My name is Simphiwe Mdluli, an editor at Prestige Magazine, and this is the Prestige Edit. So, let's get into it. Monalisa, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good.
It's a pleasure to actually have you seated here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited to be seated here with you.
You're most welcome, especially on this perfect day that we celebrate called Africa Day. But I've got one question to actually ask you. What does Africa Day mean to you before we go into all the beautiful conversations that you and I have on our one-on-one?
Africa Day means to me a reminder of who I am, where I come from, and pride, having a sense of pride and confidence from how far this continent has come, all the opportunities that we have as a nation, as South Africa, but also the greater 54 nations, and where we stand in perspective to the world. It's a moment for me that just makes me so proud in this day and age. In 2026, it is an incredible time to be alive for such a time as this, actually, and to be African.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And you know, there's one connection that I really love is that you are a branding girl. I'm also a branding girl. Is that you studied brand building and I studied strategic brand building as well. And my dream was always to go into agency, and I never found myself in agency. And you relate to that so well too. So I would like you to just share a little bit of that experience for you. How you actually got here.
Okay, so yes, I am a branding girl. I have my qualifications in brand management and business management from University of Cape Town. Well, shucks, I think one can easily say that, of course, when you come into the marketing world, maybe I should start by defining, because sometimes when we are choosing our careers as young children or when we're navigating school, our parents really want to make sure that we are choosing the right type of degrees and qualifications. And there's a time that I had to go through and actually have a presentation. I had to do a presentation to my mother on what I wanted to study, where I wanted to study, and what the roadmap or the plan would look like for me in my career. And so I really had an interest in the marketing space. And within marketing, I got to actually learn that it's a really big and broad umbrella, and under this umbrella are other little pockets and divisions, which would then include media, PR, branding, advertising, copywriting. And so because there are so many of these pockets, I really wanted to make sure that I specialize. And that's when I was able to then choose to be a brand strategist, a brand manager. And there's been also an interesting journey behind that, because in studying brand management, the first influence around me was that everybody wanted to work for the top agencies, advertising agencies in Johannesburg, or even doing assignments, you get to learn about agencies globally. And I remember just feeling like, man, there's something about agency life that I don't necessarily feel is for me. I had a taste of it during brand challenges and understanding team dynamics
and doing the strats.
Exactly. And I was like, I want to work for brand, but I'm not quite sure I want to do it at agency level.
Yes.
So then I had to go into researching, okay, how do I then become a brand manager for a normal in-house brand, for in-house, and then I got to learn about FMCG and, the likes of your Unilevers, your Coca-Colas, doing assignments on them. And I remember in university, I thought, man, I'm not quite sure this is what I want to do. Do I want to work for a big global brand like that? And somehow, thankfully, actually, I was also always influenced to have mentors. And I had a mentor one day who then was helping me to obviously choose my degree and what pathway looked like. And I was like, I really want to do luxury brands. I feel like I would be able to I feel like I would be able to speak to high net worth individuals. I want to understand why wealthy people choose to spend so much money on getting private jets, or why they would choose to have an expensive watch or a piece of jewelry. More than anything else, I know that when we say luxury, we will think, oh, it's all about the materialistic things. But my interest was on the consumer psychology and understanding that why are they choosing these products, and how do these brands make their positioning, or how do they make it so unique that they attract these people. And so that's how I navigated my way into brand strategy, brand management, into the luxury space.
You know what? I can definitely resonate with that, because within luxury, it's always about the storytelling behind it.
Yes.
It's the craftsmanship that we also see. And that's what luxury is all about. And today we are getting to see African luxury being put in a different position, or being seen in a different light today. But you spoke about identity, and I want to touch back on your name, Mona Lisa. Very expensive art piece, as we all know.
Yes.
Why Mona Lisa?
Well, I think that's a question that needs to go to my parents. That's funny that you asked, because wow, I've had to learn. I think in my adult age, I am appreciating my name so much more. But you can imagine, as a young girl and as a child, having been named after the most famous art piece in the world that also has its own stigmas. Others either love it, or they are going to reference scandals around who the Mona Lisa was and why she was painted like that. But yeah, it's my birth name. First and foremost, I get asked, like, is that your real name, or is that an
Very
alias?
unique name, I must say.
Why would you choose that name for yourself? No, but really, it really is. And in fact, in my childhood, my name was cut short. So at home, I'm known as Lisa. So it's Lisa. Childhood friends, family call me Lisa. And it was when I started working in full-time corporate in the front-end luxury space that I had a boss who was based in Paris, who had asked me one day, like, why do you allow people to shorten your name? Your name is not Lisa. Your name is Mona Lisa.
It's a beautiful name.
And people must call you Mona Lisa. And I was like, really? And like, for the first time in my life, I sort of like sat up straight and I was like, yeah, that is my name. But I can tell you, this name opened up doors. When I look back into the career track and opportunities that I've had before the social media days, because now you can vet people by Googling them and all of that. Doing the old school way of job applications, when people would see my name, it's like it's actually something that favored me quite a lot. We can also think about the times when, if you've got a complex traditional name, then people don't want to say your name, or I'd feel, or I am realizing that at times it became a disadvantage, but it's not to the person's fault. But if it's not an easy name or people to call you, then I think some people have lost opportunities because of that. But I've somehow managed to run with it and make it work for me, even when people take pride. And now, thankfully, in this day and age, being African, we are taking pride of our names. And that's great. It's how it's always meant to have been.
Your journey at Cartier and to where you are now, an art-trepreneur, is that a real word, actually?
Is it? I don't know. It's somewhere out there. It's on the internet. I also don't own the IP, but what I remember is that I came across this word that was like artpreneur or art-trepreneur. And I was like, yeah, this is it. Especially when I left corporate to come into entrepreneurship, and I wanted to define myself in a very unique way. And I realized that because I had left corporate to come into the fine arts industry, I was like, yeah, I am a business owner, in the arts, and I'm also an entrepreneur. And really, the definition of an art-trepreneur is somebody who is both artistic and who is a strategist, who is a business manager. And I hybrid those roles. I'm both the artistic creative mind, but I'm also the strategic business mind. And so I am an art-trepreneur.
I would like you to take us through your journey from your young days to where you are now as artpreneur and art factory as well. I would like our viewers to at least know a little bit about that.
Okay, well, if I start from my young days, this is gonna take the whole day. So let me just fast forward to let me fast forward to university. As I mentioned, I've had great mentors behind me. And I was fortunate enough to just have somebody help me to carve that roadmap of what my ideal career may have looked like. And because I knew what I didn't want, I've always been quick to know what I don't want, right? And this came up even during my university days. And so there were two types of feedbacks that I used to get. Oh, Mona, but you don't want everything. Everything you don't want that. You don't want that. I would get offers from big corporate FMCG companies, even for my interns, like the first internship year. But I'd be like, no, but that's not what I want. And so one of my mentors then said to me, well, the good thing is that you don't know what you want, so then you can get to what you want faster. But we need to now carve out what that actually looks like. And it was your top three brands. Which top three brands do you want to work for? And I remember listing brands in hospitality, in the fine watchmaking and high jewelry world. And it was, I think I had also looked into the culinary space. And I recall one day I was just like, well, I need to get a job now. So the best thing that I can do is draft my CV and go walk in the mall and check which brands are there and just drop off my CV. And thankfully, I did get a response from one of the brands, and I then had my first foot through the door in the fine watchmaking world, which unlocked so much for me. I got to travel the world, I got to understand how global headquarters speak to different markets, different nations, and then also understanding high net worth individuals and how they spend their money or what's important to them. And I mean, it was an incredible time in my life. I also remember I had another mentor who said to me, you as a young girl, I fast checked my career. I think at the time I was 21 and I had a very intense 4 years in corporate. And by the time I was 25, I had already traveled the world. I was the first black female to sit in a high marketing position. And by the time I was 25, I then had a once in a lifetime opportunity to acquire a business. And again, it was such a pivotal moment in my career because we do get encouraged to start businesses or to have multiple streams of income. But never did I, even in my own life, have a good example of mergers and acquisitions, buying a business, where we are encouraged to start our own business, but
Yes.
to buy into something that's already existing isn't something that was in my radar. I didn't have great examples around it. But again, it's a matter of picking up the phone and asking somebody who has already been there. They say always ask those who have gone ahead of you for advice. And so I had that opportunity to buy this business which focused on framing, and it was turning over bulk framing in for like certificates and photo frames. And even in acquiring that business and then taking full ownership of what is Artform Factory today and Artform Advisory as of last year, I was like, okay, well, bulk certificates isn't quite something that I want to focus on. Again, I was like, I can take this business. There's something really interesting that's taking place. I did a lot of due diligence and I remember thinking to myself, if I buy this business and I do the brand strategy, how would I reposition it? What do I want to do with it? And I was like, well, it specializes in framing. I've got clients right now that are buying watches and pens and jewelry that are sitting in high corporate positions. And at the time, there was the big trend of the BEs, or not even BEs, it was the black diamonds before BE, black diamonds. And I was like, well, if they are starting to buy pens and watches and their lifestyle is really evolving, and I know that I've been the marketing manager that has been behind their buying patterns, I was like, well, the next thing is art.
And art has been a trend recently.
Right. So maybe I'm not owning a gallery, but in framing, there is the whole value chain of the art industry.
Yes.
There's the artist, there's the gallery, there's selling the art, there's the logistics, there's framing, there's hanging, there's storage. And I was like, I need to get into this and own the space with framing and specializing in conservation framing and art restoration for investment fine art. So then I have clients that are saying, right, Mona, oh my word, I bought this art piece. We buy art because we like it. But if you're going to buy art and it's valued at over R500,000, you're definitely not going to be putting a standard certificate frame that you bought in a normal retail shop. But I wanted to make sure that I educate on that. And how did I get there? I started and I went back to my name. How is the Mona Lisa more than 100 years old? And this art piece, people from all around the world make it a point to go look at it. How come it has not deteriorated? How come it doesn't chip? We all know that when you leave a photo for long or a piece of paper, it fades, right? Only to find that they're actually specialists. The way that we have fine watchmakers specialists, writing instrument people that make your pens, is the same way that we have the art historians and the art restorers, right? So the Mona Lisa needs to be serviced. It actually has to be serviced.
I never
The
knew
framing
that.
needs to be changed. There's different materials that specific woods that you can use on the frame that does not excrete acid or any chemicals that will then start tampering with the art piece. There is specific glass, museum grade glass, that would make sure that it protects the art so that the painting doesn't chip.
Oh, wow.
It also will block the UV rays of the light. The Mona Lisa has to be in a certain temperature room. The lighting, it cannot heat up the art piece because then the paint will also chip. And if that chips, then you have to get an art restorer to go back and carefully place. So there was all of that. And this was just all on my own research, I didn't go to school to study art. I'm not a specialist. I've never owned that, in fact. But it was just my own research. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy this business. It's going to specialize in framing. And because I know that the luxury lifestyle is coming up on a boom in South Africa, I want to make sure that when my people go buy art, they know where to go when it comes to framing. And then I get access to your home because now I know that I need to come hang this art piece after framing it. So I really get to have exposure to a side of people that not everybody gets to know or see, because home is where you relax the most. It's the heart of you. It's the truest version of you, and art becomes a reflection of that. What you buy, how you buy it, and of course your home and the space.
Sure. That was very rich. And thank you for that insightful information, because this is what Africa Day is essentially about. You have really educated us about the investment of luxury art. I never really thought that so much thought is actually put into taking care of the Mona Lisa. And this is what it's all about. And now seeing that African luxury and African art is also starting to have its own voice, its own culture, its own identity. It is putting it in a different pedestal, and it's also teaching us to actually also take care of our arts. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
A question that I actually want to ask you is, how do you think African voices are shaping the way luxury is being understood today, especially from a South African point of view. Let's also consider our history because we were not included for a very long time. And now African art, South African art, music, jewelry, we can name it all, is now being showcased.
I think it's an exciting time. As I said, 2026, 2025. I think we've been seeing the shift. In fact, I'd say from 2023 up until now, brand Africa is on an upward trajectory. It's the most exciting place to be. I look at even how we've got the finesse. We've got the finesse in everything. And there's nothing new to the way that we are doing things. How I see it is that we're just being ourselves. It's how it's always been. The only difference is that prior to us waking up to our own selves, is that we had outsiders narrating for us and driving how the rest of the world must see us. And there's been this critical change in how we are finally taking back our voice and we are crafting things in our own way and we are owning that. And it's only then that the rest of the world is following. How I like to see it is that value is seen in two ways. There's perceptive value and then there's real value.
What's the difference?
Maybe let me also bring it back to the art space. Perceptive value in South Africa has been that artists, if you are a young, talented child, your elders, your family, they don't see your drawings or art as valuable. Right? It's there it goes again, he's drawing, and those art that you get on the side of the road when you go to the beachfront in Durban, right? And then the perceptive value of our art in Europe now, in this day and age, is that African art is a gem. There's a stark difference. So then we go into real value. What is then the real value of art, the real value of South Africa, the real value of Africa to the continent? We don't even have to push beyond the art space. Oil, gold, mines. We look at gas, we look at diamonds. Perception says Africa is poor. Real value says all of our resources are actually moving this globe. You know? So Africa Day for me, Africa Month, how we are taking back our stories and owning everything and who we are. It's really an incredible time for us. I burst with joy because the brands follow suit. For now, for South Africa, it's Amapiano. We can argue also what the definition of African luxury is. Amapiano is fine. It may not be the European definition of luxury, but the point is, in this day and age, we have international brands that are taking our Amapiano DJs and putting them in runway shows or having private parties with them. And so the shift has taken place. And that's where authorship and recognizing that it's ours and that it's now at our will and way to control how the world sees it.
You know, as a music lover, I love the fact that you mentioned Amapiano because the world is currently seeing the creative mind that we actually do have as South Africans. There's a video that I actually saw online and I need to share it with you. Do you know the artist, the DJ artist, Bjork?
Yes.
So, Bjork, all right? She was playing... I'm not quite sure which country it was, but she was playing Betty music. Yeah.
You see, that's how far it's gone.
That's how far it has gone.
We sleep on ourselves sometimes.
Exactly.
International DJs are taking our sounds. That's interesting. I wonder where she got that
It is.
sound clip from, or how was it introduced to?
She listens to a lot of South African music. It's not the first time. You see? And seeing her play Betty music for an international crowd said a lot because it also touches base on how rich our culture is. And she was able to embrace it. And it's actually beautiful to see that our stories are being told and we're being seen once again.
And we can't also go without mentioning how Amapiano also eventually became influence for Afrobeats.
Yeah.
Right? So now we're going into West Africa, and you go anywhere, you travel. I mean, I just came back from Rwanda last week, and in the social scenes, it's Amapiano. It's Amapiano that's blowing up. And then you come into West Africa, whether it's in Lagos or Accra or Dakar, Amapiano and Afrobeats, that's where it's at. And it's so nice to not have to listen to the typical hip hop that we know from Europe or the Americas, but it goes back to that authorship and owning our own sound, really.
And the fact that we even have African artists who have got BET awards.
Yes,
Tyler's
exactly, exactly.
I want to touch on the outfit you're wearing. I love the print.
Thank you. Made in Africa.
Made in Africa.
Made in South Africa. Yes, I'm dressed by Angalia Apparel.
Angalia Apparel.
Yes.
Let's touch on fashion a bit.
Fashion, let's go. Let's go.
Firstly, why this print? Why did you choose this dress?
Because it looks good on me.
One.
And because I just love the silhouettes that Angalia has been working on. Recently, she just actually came hot off the runway with a new season of incredible outfits. And I had to just pick up the phone and say, my girl, I have to be seen in these outfits, the stuff that I've seen on the runway. The print so happens to be quite relevant to the Zulu aesthetic, isn't it? And I'm a Zulu girl, yes. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people actually debate whether I am South African, but it doesn't matter. I'm African. This is what matters. This African man. This is the pride that I carry. Never mind my name, I'm still integrating it, right? We are able to hybrid these worlds and make it work for me. But my purpose is here on the ground, on the continent. This is what matters.
And you're wearing it with pride, and I love that.
I am. I love working with a lot of African fashion designers. You'll see even on my page, a lot of people are always like, oh, Monalisa's coming out. What is she going to be wearing? Which designer do you have now? But just to represent the talent and also understanding the textile industry, beyond the art industry work that I do, it's all under the creative arts, all the cultural art forms. What's really important to me, I know that I had already tapped into the value chain of the visual arts industry, but what I love more than being adorned in beautiful garments is also understanding the value chain of the fashion industry and knowing that there's textiles and craftspeople and our cloth, our beading, it's all language. And it's also part of the way that I am owning my identity and the culture. And also recognizing other people's cultures, because on any other day, I could also be dressed in a bobo from West Africa, or kente cloth, or, So it's an interesting space to be in. And I'm definitely intentional about championing and unpacking and uncovering the importance of recognizing the different industries, of recognizing those value chains. Earlier on, I was just mentioning how it's important for us globally to obviously own our narratives, but also when I mention perceptive value and real value and the example of Africa's resources actually moving this globe, I can come back to then all these different industries, music, fashion, art, and understanding that even with those industries or in their own pockets, there are infrastructures and there are systems. And if we don't intentionally work towards making sure that the base of these industries are solid, then we can get into trouble, because how the trouble comes is that then we have global luxury brands or global brands coming to take inspiration from us, and they do whatever they want to do internationally with our patterns, and we can't fight it because our infrastructures are shaky and they are not on good ground. So it's also important that we make sure that we contribute. And when I say we, it's me. I'm talking to myself as well, but as well as all the practitioners across all the art forms is that we make sure we build the institutions that are going to carry us forward to build the Africa that we are moving towards, the Africa that needs to be, so that we don't complain anymore that the globe is taking from us. Those infrastructures and the foundation are really, really important.
Monalisa, we are coming to the end of our session, but there's one question that I need to ask you. I don't think that it's important for us to just celebrate Africa Day only and only just have it as Africa Month. We get to see it throughout the year and we get to embrace it.
Yeah. Africa for life.
Africa for life.
It just should be the way of being. It shouldn't even be a title. We need to work towards not making it a title, in fact. And it's just something that we are naturally.
I mean, as South Africans, we already got our own title, our own one.
Yes, I know that. That's for sure.
What do we like saying? No DNA, just RSA.
No DNA, just RSA.
I'm actually sidetracking a bit, but I wanted to actually ask you is, what does the future for African luxury and African art investment look like for us?
Wow. That's a good question. What does the future of African luxury look like? 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years?
It could be 2 years.
Now.
It could be 10 years, 5 years, 2 months, 3 months.
Okay, well, look, I'm a decade now into entrepreneurship. And this journey has really taught me and made me realize that beyond just hyping up being a business owner, own your own business. What's really important is that we pay a lot of attention to building the right type of infrastructure so that businesses don't fail. We need institutions that are going to back us in the African luxury space. And I speak for all the cultural art forms, whether it be music, dance, fashion, art, more museums, more music studios, more infrastructures and properties that will help to nurture the talent that the continent has, and also having investors, the people that are going to put in the right type of capital, hold us accountable, and make sure that now everything that is happening here in this day and age, it is archived for hundreds of years to come. Amapiano must be a topic like the Mona Lisa is a topic in terms of the years and the gaps, and also in the art space. We already know that the globe is really looking at contemporary African art as an investable space. We need more museums then to make sure that the narratives and because art becomes a representation of the times. Artists are drawing, they are creating, they are making based off of how they are living in these times. And so for 100 years from now, we want the children or the people that are going to be running and living in this world to be able to reflect and come back to 2026 and see how we were living and the things that we were fighting for, advocating for. So maybe perhaps that's the bit of the more boring side, but really before we get to the fun and aesthetic side, we need to always make sure that our foundations are very strong, that we've got the right type of patrons that are backing us, that we've got the right type of businesses and platforms that are really credible, reputable. Luxury brands globally, those houses, the maisons, are hundreds of years old. And so we need that for art, we need that for fashion, we need that for hospitality, for the culinary industry. And so for me, maybe the fun side, if I can mention, the future looks like more freedom of expression in any which way. And we cannot judge the next person on how they choose to interpret what their meaning for luxury is. But it's that's just who they are. It's how we see them and we celebrate them as they are living authentically.
The meaning of expression. I love that.
Yes.
What a way to close this off. Thank you so much.
Thank you. What
for
an
being
honor.
here.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed this.
I've enjoyed the conversation even more.
And there you have it, everyone. Mona Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today on this special day for Africa Day. You have shared so many insightful information that myself, did not know about. So when it comes to African luxury investments and your story, you've got such a beautiful story. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to Angalia for dressing Miss Mona Lisa here.
Thank you.
You are really wearing what and how you define yourself. So we love the outfit. We love the print.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Prestige Edit. And a special thank you to Monalisa Molefe for joining us on this beautiful conversation. Follow Prestige Digital for more.